Adatam bhuvananti purirajana. Your words are like nectar, bring life to squirt souls. They are praised by poets and remove all sin. They are auspicious to hear, wonderful and exalted. Those who spread these words throughout the world are truly giving souls. Welcome to our class on the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. We are on the chapter, the Durga Puja Festival, and it's page 574, and the date is Monday, September 29th, 1884. Before I start, just to mention that today is the birth anniversary of Swami Ramakrishna, who was, of all the direct disciples, the one who served Sri Ramakrishna with the greatest devotion, starting from the time in Kashipur, when by turns they would serve him, but he was by his side all the time. And then after Sri Ramakrishna passed away, uh, he performed the daily worship. The worship was in the beginning, I believe, of the relics of Sri Ramakrishna. And everybody else saw the direct disciples one by one. They went to wander and go to holy places, and he stayed the whole time. Baranu and Alam Bazar and Palamat. And everyone thought that he'll never be able to leave, that he'll always be there or wherever our headquarters was. But he has so much devotion, he had so much devotion to Swami Vivekananda, that when Swamiji asked him to go to Chennai, then Madras, of course, he didn't hesitate. And he grew up in a very Orthodox Brahmin family, and this is one of the reasons why Swamiji chose him. He told his Madrasi disciples, "I'm sending you someone more Orthodox than the most Orthodox of your Brahmin." But at the same time, he was very liberal and open-minded and everything, and he led a beautiful life of tremendous dedication. And there'll be big celebrations today, already finished, of course, and especially in Chennai and Bangalore. He was responsible also for helping to start that center. Okay. So, Sri Ramakrishna, we are now, let's see, we went back to his room, I think. Yeah, because in the beginning, the first day, he went to Ram's house and then Adhar's house, and I think should be back. Yes, so he's back in his room and Dakshineshwar, and Narendra is there, Hazra, of course, Bhavanath, and M will be there, of course, and some others. To Narendra, why don't you say a few words to Hazra about going home? The other day he said to me, "Yes, I shall go home and stay there 3 days," but now he has forgotten all about it. Yeah, there was a discussion earlier about devotion to parents, and somehow, especially devotion to the mother, to one's mother. And Sri Ramakrishna mentioned about his devotion to his own mother and how he had that desire when he was in Vrindavan to stay. And Gangama was a great saint there, and she felt tremendous attraction to him. That he was like Gopala for her. They would stay in the same room. She on one side, he on the other side, and then Hrida reminded him, or he remembered about his own mother. Yeah, and that how could he stay away from his own mother? So the thing with Hazra was he had his family back in the village, but he stayed in Dakshineshwar and had some debts, was trying to at least take care of those debts, but he rarely went back to see his family, and his mother was longing very much to see him. And Sri Ramakrishna, with his tender heart, uh, he he never liked to assert any authority and say, no, you have to go back, anything like that. But he tried to persuade him. And sometimes he would seem to agree, and other times he wouldn't do it. Narendra and Hazra were big friends. That Narendra had a habit of making friends with people that other people uh, didn't have such a high opinion of, to put it nicely. That he could be friends with anybody. Yeah, and we find, say, with Girish, he and Girish had a very nice friendship. He and Hazra had a nice friendship. Uh, some others, this from the Guha family, that people didn't care for so much. Anyhow, so he's asking Narendra, why don't you say a few words to Hazra about going home? The other day he said to me, yes, I shall go home and stay there 3 days, but now he has forgotten all about it. To the devotees, we have talked about filthy things, Ghoshpara and things like that. Govinda, Govinda, Govinda. Now chant the name of Hari. Let there be a dish of rice, pudding, and sweets after the ordinary lentils. Yes, somehow it came up. How did it come up? I think Bhavanath showed up dressed like a brahmachari, and then Narendra made some statement that I'll come as a brahmachari, something like that, come Bhairavi. Then Thakur didn't care for it. But anyhow, the conversation came. Yeah, the interesting thing to me is that how close Sri Ramakrishna was to the Vaishnava Janan, who was the spiritual leader of the Goshpara uh, group, and how many times he went with them there. And other times, these things were prevalent, but not so much openly done. Probably they met at nighttime and in secret places and things like that. But anyhow, the conversation came up. It comes up in other times, and Sri Ramakrishna will say a few words about it. And these the main thing that puts them outside of the pale of society is that they do spiritual practice, men and women together, and often take wine as part of their spiritual practice. Other things are also. So Sri Ramakrishna, whenever he wanted to kind of clean the air, he would say, Govinda, Govinda, yeah, and then change the subject. Narendra began to sing. Fasten your mind, O man, on the primal Purusha, who is the cause of all causes, the stainless one, the beginningless truth. As prana, he pervades the infinite universe. The man of faith beholds him, living, resplendent, the root of all, beyond the senses, eternal, the essence of consciousness. He shines in the cave of the heart, adorned with holiness, wisdom, and love. By meditating on him, man is delivered from grief. Of countenance ever serene, an inexhaustible ocean of virtue. None can fathom his depths, yet freely of his own grace does he reveal himself to those who come to his feet for shelter. Merciful, since they are helpless, and he is the ever forgiving, the giver of happiness, the ready help in the sea of our woe. Unswervingly just, bestowing the fruits of our deeds, good and ill. Yet is he the fount of compassion, the ocean of mercy, brimming with love. Even to hear of his glory suffuses the eyes with tears. Gaze on his face and be blessed. Your heart is hungry for him, O man, bright with unspeakable beauty, peerless and without stain. No words can ever describe him. Be as a beggar before his gate, and worship him day and night, beseeching him for his grace. I I can guess by uh, reading this that this is a Brahmo song. In the beginning, Sri Ramakrishna mentioned, or it's mentioned in the Gospel, that Narendra didn't know very many songs other than what he learned in the Brahmo Samaj. They had their own songbook, and they had their own choir, and they would sing in unison and everything. And so he knew quite a few of those songs. Uh, but we can see that no mention of any personal God in a very abstract sense, but nothing like a deity, and nothing with any really ecstatic kind of bhakti that we'll read in other types of tradition. Very, very typical of the Brahmo point of view at that time. Of course, we have to remember that Trailokanath had been visiting Sri Ramakrishna for some time and started writing these other types of songs. Mother, make me mad with thy love, and things like that. He sang again, in wisdom's firmament, the moon of love is rising full, and love's flood tide in surging waves is flowing everywhere. O Lord, how full of bliss thou art, victory unto thee. On every side shine devotees like stars around the moon. Their friend, the Lord all-merciful, joyously plays with them. Behold, the gates of paradise today are wide open. Sri Ramakrishna was dancing in a circle. The devotees joined him. They all sang and danced. Their bliss was indescribable. The master sang about the Divine Mother. Yeah, we get descriptions of Sri Ramakrishna that he'll stand up and what kind of dance, a little going forward and back and hands up, but somehow the others would form a circle and dance around him. So he'll be in the middle and there'll be some, we get some idea. Some of these series that have been done recently on Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother and everything are quite well done. And yeah, we get some picture of what it might have been like to see him, yeah, with that kind of dancing and everything.
Who used to hold him when he was ecstatic?
Who used to hold him? Well, there were different people at different times. Towards the end, it had to be Baburam. Yeah, but otherwise, whoever was the attendant, I don't think they always had to hold him. When he's actually dancing and going back and forth, he has some awareness of everything. But that fear when he goes into deep samadhi, yeah. So at one time, Rakal was there for that purpose, partly, and not of much use because he was going into ecstasy himself. Yeah, and Latu also was there, Baburam especially afterwards. So Sri Ramakrishna was dancing in a circle. The devotees joined him. They all sang and danced. Their bliss was indescribable. The master sang about the Divine Mother. Behold my mother playing with Shiva, lost in an ecstasy of joy. And Sri Ramakrishna was highly pleased because M had joined in the music. M was shy. Now, we know with Sri Ramakrishna that he didn't like people to make a big show of things. On the one hand. On the other hand, he didn't like people who were so shy and were afraid of looking bad or they would embarrass themselves and everything. So with him, he was always encouraging him to sing and get up and dance. Others would be having great joy, and he'll be sitting in the corner watching. And so in the beginning, Sri Ramakrishna says he's a little bit older than the others, so he's a little serious. He's a headmaster, a little grave like that. But M had a nice singing voice apparently, and Sri Ramakrishna encouraged him to sing. And we read in the gospel at one point that M had bought a book of songs of Ram Prasad and was learning to sing them, and Sri Ramakrishna was very happy about that. Yeah, what was M's spiritual attitude? Yeah, this we don't know very much about these things, but one place, after some series of conversations and things, Ramakrishna looks at M and says, "You're a worshiper of Shakti." Yeah. But I think, but first of all, he was from the Brahmo Samaj in the beginning, and then his devotion to Sri Ramakrishna was so great that that'll really be, of course, the main focus of his devotion will be Thakur himself. Sri Ramakrishna was highly pleased because M had joined in the music. He said to M with a smile, "The atmosphere would have been more intense with divine fervor If a drum had accompanied the music and played tak tak da dhina, tak tak da dhina, it was dusk when the kirtan was finished. Wednesday, October 1st, 1884. So that's the end of that one day. Sri Ramakrishna had set out from Dakshineshwar for Adhar's house in Calcutta. How many times he went to Adhar's house? They say he went to Balaram Bose's house and stayed overnight, I think 100 times. Yeah, they make that claim where it's been noted that way. Then probably Ram's house, maybe after that, and then maybe Adhar. But and just for a short period of time. Adhar came a little bit late, and we know didn't live long. But during that period, Thakur went many times. Also, I think where it was situated. It was all these places, mostly in North Kolkata, was very easy for the other devotees to get there. And maybe he had a large place that they could have meetings there and everything. Narayan and Gangadhar were with him. In the carriage, in an ecstatic mood, he said, "Shall I count the beads? How shameful that would be. This emblem of Shiva has sprung from the bowels of the earth. It is self-created and not set up by man's hands." We saw, I think earlier, was it earlier we saw, when the Hazra was telling his beads, and Sri Ramakrishna went up to him and said, "Oh, let me see if I can do it." And he took on his right hand. He goes, "Oh, maybe a little bit with my left hand." Yeah. So just this idea that to dig a well when there's a flood every place. Yeah. That to do some traditional type of spiritual practice when one feels the ecstatic presence of God at every moment, that it doesn't make sense for someone like Sri Ramakrishna, and that everything is natural with him. So we have two different types of Shiva lingams. Those that are taken from a stone, they can be nicely smoothed out and everything, making a beautiful round shape, and those that are just natural rock that they say have come from the bowels of the earth. They'll be the natural ones. They arrived at Adhar's house, where many devotees, including Kedar, this Kedarnath, Baburam, and Vijay had assembled. This Kedar and Vijay, we find them often together because they formed a good friendship. Kedar, he lived in West Bengal. His village was Halishore, but he worked in Dhaka. He had to go there quite often. And our Vijay Krishna Goswami, he stayed in Kolkata. He was a preacher for the Brahmo Samaj, but his home was also near Narayanganj, near Dhaka. So when they were both there, they kept a good close companionship with each other. The Vaishnav Charan. This is not the same Vaishnav Charan. We have two. Vaishnav Charan, who was the spiritual leader of the Gospada and Thakur's good friend, and this Vaishnav Charan, he was a musician, but he figures very prominently. Very often he came to Dakshineshwar or to devotees' homes to sing, to do kirtan. Thakur liked him also. Vaishnav Charan, the musician, was present. At the master's behest, Adhar heard Vaishnav Charan's music daily after his return from the office. So you could hire him, you could say, and he would come to the house and sing kirtan, sing some bhajans and things. When the master entered Adhar's drawing room, the devotees stood up to receive him. Kedar and Vijay saluted him, and the master asked Narayan and Baburam to salute Kedar and Vijay. So this will mean make pranam, take the dust of their feet. It's not so much, especially with the Kedar, that he was a great holy man. Partly it's respect for age also. Yeah, and the tradition in India, of course, most of you know, is not simply that you do for a holy man, children for parents, or respected guests and everything. Yeah, I remember when I went to Rohara, one of our mission schools, and I stayed there one night. One of the sadhus was a good friend of mine, and all the young students were there, and they all came up and they all made pranam to me. And I said, no, no, I'm not a sadhu. Was just a student at that time. And then they said, no, no, they do this for respected guests and everything. And we see for yet children how Swamiji, with his mother, not just bow down every morning. He said, after her bath, she would dip her toe in a little container of a plate of water or something, and they would drink that water. So much devotion and respect for elders and everything. So important, yeah.
This we are talking about 1882.
Hmm.
What is the Hridoy?
Hridoy is gone already, huh?
That's why
Yeah.
other name is not mentioned.
No, Hridoy, he was asked to leave. That incident where he wanted to worship the very small daughter of Trailokyanath, Trailokyanath, who was from the Mathu's family. Yeah, and they were furious because it was considered very inauspicious for Brahmin to worship a girl of a lower caste, and so they asked him to leave. So I don't remember exactly when he left, but I think it was earlier than this. So the master asked Narayan and Babu, and of course Narayan and Baburam was not so much younger. He was actually Baburam, I think, was born in 61. I think he was 2 years older than Swamiji. So he'll be 23, something like that now, and Narayan will be younger. Kedar and Vijay, both older, of course. He asked Kedar and Vijay to bless Narayan and Baburam that they might have devotion to God. Now, in Sri Ramakrishna's eyes, I'm sure that he probably, at least Baburam definitely, and Narayan probably saw the two of them as much greater souls than, of course, Vijay he liked very much, but Vijay and Kedar. So a little bit, not that he really felt that the other two were so great that they can bless them, but to teach them a little bit humility and everything, Narayan and Baburam. And anyhow, it's a sweet kind of scene. This uh, bringing together the devotees and giving them their different roles to play, and let the young ones feel that yes, they should bow before their elders and seek their blessings, something like that. Pointing to Narayan, he said, "He is utterly guileless." The eyes of the devotees were fixed on the two boys. Now, for Thakur to say guy utterly guileless, this is perhaps the greatest compliment he can give. Yeah, how he loved the simplicity and unpretentiousness, straightforwardness, honesty, all these qualities that he saw in this Narayan. Master to Kedar and the other devotees. So they're in Adhar's house now. It is good that I've met you all here. Otherwise, perhaps you would have come to the Kali temple to see me. Through the will of God, however, we have met here. Yeah, after Durga Puja is over, people very often go to visit. So they could have gone to see him. Kedar with folded hands. The will of God, it is all your will. Now, this Kedarnath, sometimes he seems to say things a little bit for show. He was very sincere, and at the same time had his own little agenda. And Thakur loved him very much, and then sometimes the Thakur wasn't so sure also. And he did funny things. He held on to his big toe, and he had joined many other different groups before, these Gospada and other things like that. So he was a very complicated character, this Kedarnath. But Thakur was fond of him, of course. Sri Ramakrishna smiled. Yeah, he didn't pay too much attention, say when Ram and Girish were going around calling him the Avatar. He didn't pay much attention. He said, yeah, one is an actor on the stage, the other's a physician. What did they know about who's an Avatar? He said, when these great pundits said it, it may have meant something then, but it's just talk. Yeah. So he didn't pay much attention. Vaishnav Charan began a kirtan about Radha and Krishna. When the music was nearing its end, with the union of Radha and Krishna, the master began to dance with ecstatic fervor. Yeah, there are different kirtans for this mood of uh, viraha bhava, when she's separate and longing for Krishna, and then when finally they unite, milana bhava. There'll be different types of kirtans. So the master began to dance with ecstatic fervor. The devotees danced and sang around him. After the music, they all sat down. The master said to Vijay, referring to Vaishnav Charan, he sings very well. He asked the musician to sing the song about Sri Chaitanya, beginning with the line, the beautiful Gauranga, the youthful dancer, fair as molten gold. When the song was over, the master asked Vijay, how did you like it? Vijay, wonderful. Now, it's possible that Sri Ramakrishna, seeing Vijay there, he was inspired to hear songs about the Vaishnava tradition and Chaitanya Deva, because Vijay Krishna Goswami, he came from a Goswami family. They were descendants of Advaita Acharya or one of the others, usually. And so Sri Ramakrishna, and he knew that this was the inner mood. So this Vijay Krishna Goswami, he's in his second transition. First transition was when he split from Keshav and joined the Sadhana Brahmo Samaj, and now uh, he'll be giving up the Brahmo Samaj and family life and becoming a sannyasin and fully uh, embracing the Vaishnava tradition. Very highly devotional, personal God, of course, worship of Krishna. Uh, so he's undergoing all of these changes, but for Sri Ramakrishna, these are not real changes. This is allowing his real nature to come out. He always said that this was a bad fit for you, this Brahmo Samaj, that your soul was longing to express this ecstatic love for God. The love of God that the Brahmos had was a little bit watered down because there was no form, of course, not much name, no real personality behind it. Uh, uh, and nothing like this ecstatic love of God that we find in these highly devotional traditions. Even the Shakti tradition, the Vaishnava tradition of this. So Thakur asked Vijay, how did you like it? Vijay, wonderful. Sri Ramakrishna also sang a song about Sri Chaitanya. See, it doesn't matter that it's right at the end of Durga Puja. Yeah, it doesn't matter how the mind can go for Sri Ramakrishna. We can get song to Durga right after this also. That sometimes if he's in one mood, he wants to remain. Otherwise, he can go back and forth. He didn't see such a great difference with all of these things. Sri Ramakrishna also sang a song about Sri Chaitanya, M joining him. So good. M is in a good mood today. And then Vaishnav Charan sang another song. Oh, my flute, sing Hari's name. You cannot know the highest truth without Lord Hari's grace. His name removes our bitter grief. Repeat the name of Hari, and then repeat Sri Krishna's holy name. If he bestows his grace on me, no longer shall I be afraid of this unfriendly world. Sing then, Lord, Hari's name, my flute. Our only treasure is his name. Govinda says, behold, my days are passing by in vain. In the world's deep and shoreless sea, oh, let me not be drowned. Vaishnav, Vaishnav Chan is saying again, this time about Mother Durga. O tongue, always repeat the name of Mother Durga. Who but your Mother Durga will save you in distress? The master and the musician sang again and again the following lines from the song. The moving and the unmoving, the gross and the subtle art thou. Creation and preservation art thou, and the last dissolution. Thou art the primal root of this manifest universe, the mother of the three worlds, their only savior art thou. Thou art the Shakti of all, and thou thine own Shakti too. Yeah, we see a big difference in the mood and attitude of the worshippers of Divine Mother. That Mother is everything. They see her everywhere. With Sri Krishna, it's very much this manifestation in the form of Krishna. And maybe they'll see Krishna everywhere because you stare at something one time, you'll see it other places. But this is different. This is really the Mother is everything. Wherever there's Shakti, the Mother is present. And she is her own Shakti. So she's both in Brahman and Shakti. Yeah. Kedar and several devotees stood up. They were about to return home. Kedar saluted the master and bade him goodbye. Okay, now we get into this caste business. Yeah, this Adhar, Adhar Sen, usually Sen or Devotees, which are considered almost Brahmins, but I think he would belong to a lower caste for some reason. There's a mention of it in one place. Yeah, Subarna, I don't remember what it was. Anyhow, they were hesitating. We'll get to it. They were hesitating to eat, to take food with them. Master, should you go away without bidding Adhar goodbye? Wouldn't that be an act of discourtesy? They were embarrassed. Yeah, they didn't want to have to face him and say, "Yeah, that we're going to leave now. We can't take food here, this and that." So they were going to just go out. It wouldn't have been terrible. People understood in those days because they could get in trouble with their community. People would talk. Yeah, when Sri Ramakrishna would go to these Ram's house and other people's houses, I read it in the book you gave by Swamiji's brother, how it would be a little bit scandalous, how people of all different castes would take food together during those times, and how people were really criticized heavily. Some of them, leaders of community and things like that, they had to be willing to have their reputation taken down a little bit to have Sri Ramakrishna come to their place. Among some, of course. Kedar, when God is pleased, the world is pleased. Okay, now he's being clever. Yeah, if you take food, it's as good as us taking food. We'll leave. You can do it. You're also a Brahmin. So he says, when God is pleased, the world is pleased. You were staying. So in a sense, we are all staying. I'm not feeling well. Okay, so this isn't a very straightforward thing to say. We know the real reason that he's leaving. Besides, I am a little nervous about my social conventions. Okay, so this is the real thing. It says, Adhar belonged to a lower caste. Kedar, a Brahmin, could not dine with him or eat at his home. Now, of course, he could, but according to very strict caste rules, he shouldn't. That's all. He shouldn't do it. What can happen? He could be fined. He could be told that now for a certain period of time, no one can dine with you. They have different things they can do. I don't know. If he's looking to marry off his children or something, it could affect the. I don't know exactly. I know in the village with the Holy Mother that really there was just a little group that would get together, some panchayat group or something, the village chief, and say, "Oh, she did this again. Okay, they'll have to pay 5 rupees. No one could visit for a week." Little things like that. We hear about outcast as if you're kicked out and that's the end of it. It's not that, nothing so bad as that. But still, he was concerned about his reputation also, the Kedar. Because we'll see that it'll come up that he had his own little group. He was a half guru himself. Yeah, and it'll come up here. So he says, besides, I'm a little nervous about my social conventions. Once before, I had trouble with our community. So something happened like that. Vijay, pointing to the master, should we go away and leave him here? But Vijay is also a Brahmin, so he would have the same problem. But he was also a Brahmo, and they didn't care for caste. Yeah, so that would be a different thing with him, but still. Now, in the Vaishnava community, they also had, they knew who were Brahmins and this and that. And the Brahmins among the Vaishnavas were very strict about food and things like that. But the Chaitanya Dev, the tradition, was really also about not caring about caste. He's really the one, that statement that Thakur makes so many times, there's no caste among devotees of God. This doesn't go out of the Chaitanya tradition. He also used to say that. So Vijay is being a little bit sensible here. Should we go away and leave him here? Just then, Adhar came in to take the master to the dining room, for the meal was ready. Sri Ramakrishna stood up and said, addressing Kedar and Vijay, come with me. So he's not forcing them, but he's saying, yeah, forget about that. Yeah, just come. Don't overthink the whole thing. Yeah. They followed him and partook of the dinner together with the other devotees. After dinner, they all returned to the drawing room where the devotees sat around the master. Kedar said to him with folded hands, please forgive me for hesitating to eat here. Perhaps the thought had come to his mind that he should not have hesitated, since the master himself had no scruples about eating at Adhar's house. Now, for Sri Ramakrishna, he wasn't in favor of the attitude of the Brahmos to do root and branch social reform. He said you can't simply root out to just get rid of these things. He was a believer in tradition to a certain extent. But the main thing with the caste was among devotees there should be no question. And he himself, he is not hesitating to eat at others' house. And we'll see that it'll come up that at different times he could take food from anybody, and other times he could only take food cooked by a Brahmin cook. So, but with him, none of it was caste prejudice or anything. His body was such that different things manifested in it at different times. Say we hear that he couldn't bear the touch of metal. That wasn't his whole life. He went through a period. He used to keep an amulet on his arm. And at a certain period, he told M, you have to buy some stone vessels and things for the bowls and things to eat from. Nowadays, I can't touch anything made of metal. So it wasn't always like that. He would go through different phases, you can say. Anyhow,
he had no hesitation to sit beside any other caste Maharaj, even while taking food, right?
To sit beside, of course, when he took food in these places very often, he'll be taken into the inner apartment. Yeah, and the ladies of the families will be there and they'll serve him. And yeah, no, yeah, otherwise he took food in his room. Some others would be there. He doesn't make a big fuss about it. It was more of the purity of the people, not so much the caste of the people, but the purity of the people who served him. Somehow he knew. Yeah, we just read earlier, someone gave him a glass of water. He couldn't touch it. What rascal gave this glass of water? How does he know these things? Yeah, just some intuitive thing that translates even to his hand when his hand goes to touch it. Then someone else gives a glass and he drinks it, no problem. Yeah. even water from the India Club. Who knows who touched it and everything? He didn't hesitate to drink it when he was thirsty. If it had been somebody very worldly person, then he wouldn't have done it. So we have no idea how he developed this sensitivity towards pure and impure that way. And at the same time, we talked about going beyond pure and impure. That when he did all of this sadhana, tantric sadhana, most of it had to do with that. You take the feces of a jackal, put it on your tongue, things like that, just to get rid of this idea of pure and impure. Yeah. So the master had no scruples about eating at Adhar's house. Yeah. Kedar worked at Dhaka. Many devotees brought offerings of sweets and other food for him. Yeah, for him, because they used to have little meetings and things there. And whether he really did it grudgingly or whether he did it with great devotion or whether there was a little ego behind it, whatever, he ended up being set up a little bit as the guru or leader of that group. Not that he's giving initiation and things and everything, but they all respected him and looked up to him and everything. So referring to this, Kedar said to the master, people want to give me food. Now, give me food, that'll mean as we will bring something for a holy man. Yeah. To as a type of offering to show special respect, something like that. Otherwise, bring food, who cares? It's not a big thing. What should I do? And then again, the question of caste. Will there be people outside of his caste? This and that. So, Lord, what is your command in this matter? Master, one can eat food even from an untouchable if the untouchable is a devotee of God. So this is the main thing. Yeah, is there devotion? Is there purity there and everything? So with the Kedar, what is his hesitation? That is he polluting himself? Is he setting himself as a guru? Is he taking food from people of other castes? Not entirely clear. A little mixture of all of them, I think. Yeah, because these are things that could be offered in the shrine, instead of it seemed like they're going directly to him. So one can eat food even from an untouchable, if the untouchable is a devotee of God. After spending 7 years in a God-intoxicated state at Dakshineshwar, I visited Kamarpukur. Oh, what a state of mind I was in at that time. Even a prostitute fed me with her own hands, but I cannot allow that now. Yeah, I would like to say a word about prostitutes in India. That many of these are, it's almost like they're caste, that they're born into it. They have very little choice, or because of poverty, they may be good people too. And if we look at, they claim that the actresses in the stage in Kolkata were, they say, prostitutes, and many of them were just they had to be a mistress of a wealthy man, something like that. Uh, but Thakur was so fond of them. Many of them were great devotees, as Vinodini and Tara and others. Uh, so, yeah, it's we may hear this word prostitute and just automatically think that they're very, very low, immoral people and everything. But a lot of it is really the terrible effect of poverty and caste. Kedar was about to take his leave. Kedar in a low voice. Yeah, now it's Kedar. I don't. It's an interesting character. Lord, please transmit power to me. Many people come to me. What do I know? Now, is it his humility or his longing for power? It's very hard to say with this kid or not. He's a complicated person. Yeah. So a little bit of each. I mean, Thakur was very fond of him. He must have had some substance to him, of course. But we get a funny impression of him sometimes. Master, everything will be all right. One gets along well if one is sincerely devoted to God. So he's not saying yes or no. He's not saying, yes, my child, I'm giving you that. He's just saying, yeah, just let things be as they are. Yogendra, the editor of a Bengali paper, the Bangavashi, entered the room. I don't think we hear about this Yogendra anywhere else. I don't remember his name. The conversation turned to the personal God and God without form. Master, God has form. Again, he is formless. How many aspects he has. We cannot comprehend him. Why should we say that God is formless only? Now, this is a very, very big question that runs through the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. That was a tremendous issue for the members of the Brahmo Samaj. And this question of sakar, God with form, what does it mean? See, formless God, we can easily understand that we're talking about some pure consciousness or some transcendent reality. But when we talk about worshiping God with form, what exactly do we mean? It's very unclear. In the very beginning of the gospel, as soon as this comes up, starts talking about image worship. That there's one of the ideas when the Brahmos were so much against worship of God with form, it pretty much meant don't go into a temple and bow down before an image, kind of idolatry, idol worship, something like that. But there's so many other concepts of God with form that this whole idea that God can be approached and God can manifest in all different ways, in all different forms. God can be worshipped as any of the deities, Shiva and Durga, Narayana, anything like that, can reveal himself in that type of form. This whole universe can be considered the form of God, the body of God. Then God can manifest distinctly as the avatar. This is not a lila. And God can be seen, each and every person is a form of God, can be worshipped that way. So it's very misleading to think that God with form and God without form, that these were two equivalent things. God without form is okay, we understand that. God with form, people have such a different impression in their minds. For the Brahmos, I'm sure, immediately they think, oh, then we should bow before an image. But it's so subtle, these other ideas of what does it mean, God with form. How Sri Ramakrishna explains this infinite ocean of consciousness through the healing power of devotion will form certain blocks that will take the form of the form of God that the devotee yearns to see, and then will meld back into the formless, and how God can reveal Himself in whatever form the devotee wants to see. So a lot of it has to do with sadhana and spiritual practice, and a lot of it has to do with some philosophical understanding that everything is a manifestation of the divine. Every form that we see is a form of God. This is God dwelling within everything, the root of everything, cause of everything. So this is a very subtle type of thing to understand. Otherwise, M seems to be right. How can both be true? Either with form or without form. But this concept of with form, it's with form and at the same time formless. The water that's in a container, that water is formless, but it takes the shape of the container. Both are true. So Thakur gives beautiful illustrations. And this worship of God, personal God, without form, without name, becomes very dry. There's not, unless, see, we have our Sufi tradition where even though no name and no form, still it's the beloved. A little bit of that feeling, this Madhur Bhava, something is there. Otherwise, at least for me, this Brahmo way of worship is a little bit dry. I don't find so much so much sweetness in it. So God has form. Again, he is formless. How many aspects he has, we cannot comprehend him. Why should we say that God is formless only? Yogendra. That is the one amazing thing about the Brahmo Samaj. Yeah, he makes a statement that Thakur likes very much. That's to his credit, this Yogendra. There, even a boy, 12 years old, sees God as formless. The members of the Adi Samaj do not object very much to God with form. They are allowed to attend ritualistic worship if it takes place in respectable families. Yeah, this Adi Brahmo Samaj, uh, yeah, I see when the Brahmo Samaj first started, I think it was just called the Brahmo Samaj. Yeah. Then the other branches came, then they had to call this the original one. And uh, when Keshav left, then I guess what was the Adi Brahmo Samaj became the Sadharan Brahmo Samaj. I don't know so much about these things. And then Keshav called his group the Navavidhan, the new dispensation. So, yeah, uh, this I don't know about. Did this Adi Samaj continue to exist after the other two were there? Does anybody know? After the Navavidhan, and I don't think there was a third one at that time, maybe earlier. Do you know? There were two, but were there three? I know there was a Sadhana Brahma Samaj and the Navavidhan. So where this Adi Brahma Samaj, is that the one that kind of split into two?
Yes. It is before the split. Before split, actually, Adi Brahma Samaj.
Yeah.
That's what it refers.
Yeah. But why would they call it Adi Brahma Samaj when there wasn't any second one?
Because that's the original. Adi means the original.
That I know, but you don't call something original if you think there's not going to be an offshoot. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like somebody is not somebody is not called senior unless he has a son that he names the same name who's called junior. He just has a name. Yeah. So I don't know when they started calling it Adi Brahma Samaj, if that was the original name or not. But anyhow, it's not very important. But anyhow, by the time the Keshav is there and that the Swamiji and others join, it was very strict. You had to sign a pledge that you won't go and bow down before an image in a temple. Master smiling. How nicely he has put it. Even a boy sees the formless God. Adhar. Shivanath Babu does not believe in God's form. Yeah, this again, I don't have a very high opinion of our Shivanath Babu. That Thakur showed so much affection to him, and he was very critical of Sri Ramakrishna in many ways. Otherwise, I'm sure that he respected him. They had to respect him a little bit because Keshav respected him so much. Yeah, but then he broke off from Keshav also, and he used to say that he was a very good man, that's Sri Ramakrishna, but thinking of God too much, he went off his head. Yeah. Behead hoyat. Yeah. Vijay. That is his mistake. So now Vijay already has kind of made that transition to accepting this God with form. Yeah, he came from a very devout Vaishnava family. Even Keshav came from a devout Vaishnava family. Yeah, and his mother was very highly devoted. Pointing to the master. As he says, the chameleon assumes different colors. Now this color, now that. Only the man who lives under the tree knows the animal's true color. So this is the beauty of this understanding of God with form. Doesn't mean that it's one form and it has to be that one form and everyone worships that one form. Yeah. That it means you like to worship God as mother. You maybe like to think of her in the form of Mother Kali. That doesn't mean that someone can't legitimately think of this the same reality in the form of Krishna or Rama or anything else. While meditating, this is Vijay speaking, I saw images of gods painted on a canvas. How many gods? How many different things they said? I said to myself, I shall go to the master. He will explain it all to me. This Vijay really had some humility and really had some love for Sri Ramakrishna. Yeah, we don't find any duplicity or any questionable things with him. Master, you saw correctly. See, he's not hesitating. Sometimes he'll say, yes, very nice. And even now, he's just saying, because Thakur also had great respect for the spiritual stature of Vijay. Kedar, God assumes forms for the sake of his devotees. Through ecstatic love, a devotee sees God with form. Dhruva had a vision of the Lord. He said, "Why don't your earrings move?" The Lord said, "They will move if you move them." I like this. Now I give credit to Kedar. I like this idea that these visions and things, they're both subjective and real at the same time. Subjective in the sense that, uh, uh, yes, we're responsible a little bit for the nature of that experience that we'll have. See, if we have a dream in that dream world, so we want to see the earrings move, we have to make them move. Not that we go up and do it, but it's all this play within the consciousness of the devotee. But the substance is real. This is the thing. So the name and the form are temporary. The name and the form of that block of ice, they're temporary. It'll melt back into the ocean. Now, Sri Ramakrishna makes a statement one time that in some places it's so cold that it never melts, or they turn into crystal, something like that. And M, this is one of my great regrets. M is talking to one of his friends, and the devotee said, "Did you get that?" Said, "No, I didn't get that." "Did you get that?" "Exactly, not really." But they don't ask him, and he never explains it more than that. So uh, maybe for that particular devotee, that form will always remain. Master, one must accept everything. That doesn't mean we follow every path. We accept the validity of everything. God with form and God without form. While meditating in the Kali temple, I noticed Ramani, a prostitute. I said, "Mother, I see that thou art in that form too." Yeah, we find somehow these great souls, they see divinity in prostitutes in the life of Jesus also. And I think because they see uh, the sadness in that life, the sadness in that type of life, and how they're trapped in it, and that great compassion comes. So this one way of thinking of the form of God in every human being, not a lila. This is also we're seeing God with form, each and every human being, an animal also, or the whole universe, the body of God, the sun and the moon, the two eyes of God. These are beautiful ideas. Therefore, I say, one must accept everything. One does not know when or how God will reveal himself. The Master saying, a mendicant has come to us, ever absorbed in divine moods. Vijay, God has infinite power. Can he not reveal himself in any form he chooses? Yeah. So there's the emphasis on the objective side, emphasis on the subjective side. If we say that God reveals himself in the form that we want, there's something objective about it. If we say it's our love and devotion, which makes the ice form in that pitch, then a little bit more the subjective side. But the thing is that the reality is there, regardless of the name and the form and how it manifests. So Vijay, God has infinite power. Can he not reveal himself in any form he chooses? Man is a speck of dust, and he dares come to a conclusion about God. How amazing. This is also Sri Ramakrishna's attitude. Master, a man reads a little of the Gita, the Bhagavata, or the Vedanta, and he thinks he has understood everything. Once an ant went to a hill of sugar. 1 grain of sugar filled its stomach, and it was returning home with another grain in its mouth. On the way, it said to itself, "Next time I go, I shall bring home the whole hill." All laugh. Okay, good. That brings us to the end of this chapter, a beautiful chapter. So, next time we will start The Master in Various Moods. This is page 578. I will be away next Friday night. Yeah. So we won't have class Friday night, but the following Friday night. Yeah. We'll begin here on page 578. Om Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhaktanukam Bhatudha Ishavataram Parameshamidhyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namama. We bow our heads before Sri Ramakrishna, who is stainless, of infinite nature, whose heart melts in sympathy for his devotees, who is an embodiment of the divine and the Supreme Lord, and ever worthy of our worship. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace. Peace be unto all. Okay, thank you, everyone. And we will meet again next time. Industry.